Jai Hind everybody, I am Dr. Rashmi Sharma from Department of Information Technology, working as an Associate Professor in Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College. Today we would be discussing one of the most important topic along with the numerical which comes in Unit 3 of Data Analytics. Here the concept which we would be discussing is how we can count the number of distinct elements in the data stream, then how can we apply the Flageolet-Martin algorithm and the Bloom's filter on the coming data streams. The keywords is distinct elements counting, then FM algorithm, Bloom's filter, inserting in lookup in that particular Bloom's filter. So coming to this, how can we count the number of distinct elements in the data stream? So what do we mean by data stream? Data stream is a continuous series of bits which are coming in, and we provide this particular stream to a processor. So this is the continuous live streaming of data which is coming in. We are processing those particular streaming data which is coming in. We sample those particular data, and after sampling those particular data, we count those particular distinct elements. Like if I have the elements here, I have given an example. If I have these particular series coming as an input stream in the data stream, then I count the number of distinct elements. So N denotes the number of distinct elements. Here S is the elements with all those repetitions. So I can have a continuous stream. Here I have assumed that I have N elements in that particular streams. Then I identify the number of distinct elements. So distinct element can be equal to or less than the number of elements coming in that particular stream. Here I showed that I have n number of elements. Here the elements are 3, 3, 6 and 9. 9 elements are there, but the distinct element which are coming is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So n consists of distinct elements. I can have a series of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. Here all the elements are distinct. So here if S is equal to this, then definitely N would also be equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. So here, we have given the condition here K can be less than or equal to. When all the elements are distinct in set S, then definitely N would also have all those particular distinct values. And when I count the number of elements, that is 1, 2, 3 and 4, so the value of F comes out to be the 4. Here the value of F would be, I have 9 distinct elements, so value of F is 9. Now the first algorithm, that is the naive algorithm, which is given for counting the distinct elements in the input data stream which is coming continuously. We set the counter to 0 and I have an empty set. This is an empty set which I have for the unique elements. It doesn't contain any elements. Then while the counter is not equals last element index. If the last element index is n, then this particular while counter will run from 1 to n. Current element not present in that unique set, we count that if the current element is not present in that particular unique set, then add the current element in the unique set. As if I have a stream of 1, 2, 3, then again 1, 3, 1. So if for the first time when I am traversing this particular series, the 1 would be an element because I have this unique set as phi or the empty set. When we are traversing first element, then definitely this unique set is that element 1 is not present in the unique set. So after the pass 1, I would have a 1 element or a 1 value in my unique set. Then I increment the counter, that is I have to go from 1 to 2. And then again, when I increment again, I go for the while loop. I see I have traversed second element. Again, I look into the unique set. It doesn't belong to the unique set. Then I have an entry of 2 and the counter is incremented by 1. Then I go to next element. The counter when increment, we go to 3. Okay. So again, I check for 3. 3 is not in the unique set. Then I add this 3 into this. When I go for the fourth element and I found it as a 1, and now I check that if it belongs to my unique set or not. Yes, it belongs to the unique set. So I don't add this particular element to the unique set. I only increment the counter, that is from 1 it goes to 3, and again for 3 I check if it belongs to the unique set. Yes. So I would increment, I won't add that to the unique set. So my unique set contains only 3 elements, that is 1, 2, 3, and I can find the length of that unique set, that is 3. So the number of elements is 3 and the values are 1, 2 and 3. So like this our naive algorithm works. So coming to the Flageolet-Martin algorithm, this is also called as FM algorithm, and which is approximately the number of unique elements in the data stream or the databases in one single pass. We don't do next pass. A single pass is being done, and through that particular traversing, the complexity of this particular algorithm, and if I have n elements in the stream, then the complexity becomes order of n. I highlight this particular algorithm that it uses less memory space while traversing or executing this particular algorithm. Definitely this algorithm is a very efficient and a robust algorithm because for passing the n elements, it's taking the complexity of order of n. So note that this algorithm is meant to be used when the stream elements as well as the expected distinct element is very large. As we know that we are working on a data stream which is coming continuously, like for example, the match which you are seeing live streaming, those are the data stream. I capture the data from 5 different cameras, 3 different mics, but I combine those particular data. The streaming is being done for that particular data, combining, processing and everything, and the output which I get from here, these are I assume that I have 5 cameras and 3 mics of which data I am taking, and here I give you a streaming. This is the TV channels which they are sending you the data. So capturing the input streams, then processing, my processor, stream processor is processing it, and then I'm getting that as an output. In my TV channel, I'm getting a consolidated, maybe I'm getting the views of 2 cameras and 3 camera are giving the redundant data, so I'm not combining that particular data. So the stream is very large. I have to identify the distinct element from all these 5 cameras. I have to combine them and then give it to the all different streaming channels which is sending it. You might have seen that whenever there is a review in that particular matches, then they give a view from a different camera, because that camera is having the distinct element which they have captured, but they are not showing it here because that was not important. But when a review is being taken, we have to look into that particular angle also, if the person is actually out or not, or it's a white or not, and so on and so forth. So the pseudocode which usually comes, if the numerical doesn't comes in AKTU, then definitely this pseudocode will be there. So we have to select a hash function. This is a very critical or the crucial job. Crucial job is thinking about the Flageolet-Martin algorithm, because this particular hash function is usually of the form a plus bx mod c, where I have to select how this cruciality is in the selection of A, B, C. If for suppose I select A equal to 1, B is equal to 9 and C is equal to minus 10. So definitely the results would be different, and if I select for another value A is equal to 2, B is equal to minus 4 and C is equal to 10, the results would be different. So definitely the cruciality depends on how I select the values of A, B and C when I am taking a hash function. So each element in the set is mapped to at least a value, and that bit is log 2n. That becomes the complexity also of this particular algorithm. Convert this hash output to a binary value. Definitely we have converted. If I get a value of 4, then I convert it to 100. Then for each binary value, find the R binary values as length of the trailing zeros in the binary value. These trailing zeros is start from your right and move towards your rest. The first one which you get here, that would be the number of trailing zeros. In this, the number of trailing zeros is 2. But if I get a value of 5, I have this value. So there are no trailing zeros, because I don't have any zero on your this particular zero. I count when we start from right to left the number of zeros. Okay. Finally, approximate count of the distinct element will be there, and then we take the maximum value, and that maximum value is taken. So same, the pseudocode tells you the set the counter equal to 0, set the max R, the maximum number of values equal to 0, while counter not equal to 0 to the last element index, because I have n elements, so I would run through all the n elements individually. value is equal to binary hash output of the current value. As we have applied the hash function, I have to convert that hash function's binary value, then count the number of trailing zeros in the value, and then see if the count is greater than maxr. Then I have to assign that count to the maxr. Here the maxr was 0. If I get 1, definitely maxr is max underscore r is greater. So I assign count equal to count value that comes out to be 1 to the maxr, and then increment the counter and display the number of distinct elements as 2 raised to power max underscore n. If this max underscore r comes out to be 4, then number of distinct element is 2 raised to the power 4, that is 16. We will take one numerical and do the dry run of this particular algorithm. So this is the numerical. I have the input stream. Here I have taken an input stream of 6 elements. It is a small one because I have to make this particular numerical handy. So I have the values of the x values is 1, 5, 10, 5, 15 and 1, and the hash function is x mod 11. Here x is values of 1, 5, 10, 5, 15, 1 and so on. Then I have to find out the number of distinct element which this particular FM algorithm is having. So I will make 6 columns. First is the value of x. Then after applying the hash function, what is the value coming? Then converting that value to the binary value, counting the number of trailing zero, finding the maximum value of this particular trailing zeros, and then doing the distinct element, that is 2 raised to power max underscore r. So first of all, I write this particular value 1, 5, 10, 5, 15 and 1. These are the input stream which I am getting into it. So now I find the mod value, that is 1 mod 11 gives me 1, then 5 mod 11, because I have the function of x mod 11. So 5 mod 11 gives me 5, 10 mod 11 gives me 10, 5 mod 11 gives me 5, 15 mod 11 gives me, what function is, I have to find the remainder. So it goes one time and the remainder is 4. And again 1 mod 11 is equal to 1. Now values to binary numbers. 1 is 1, 5 is 1 0 1, 10 is 1 0 1 0, 5 is again 1 0 1, 4 is 1 0 0 and 1 is this. I have 4-digit maximum. Can I convert this to a 4-digit value having these particular zeros? Now trailing zeros. Start from your right. I am starting from this point and counting the number of zeros. I don't have a single zero on my left. I have the number 1. So the number of zeros is 0. Here also the first element is 1. So number of zeros is 0. Now again start from right. The number of zeros is 1 here. Then I got a value of 1. So number of zeros I have to count until I find a value 1 there. So I have 1 0. Then 0 1 0 1, again this last digit is 1, so it is 0. In this 4 I have 1 and 2 zeros, then I got a value of 1. So this value is 2 and here 1, so again 0. Now find the maximum of this. I think this is clear. I have to find the trailing zeros starting from your right to left. The first number 0 which I encountered, so here it was 1. Here it was 1, here it is 0. So I have to count zeros until I get 1 here. So it was only 1, here I had 2 and then I got 1. So I have to find the maximum value now. The maximum value of 0, 1, 2 is 2 and the distinct element is 2 raised to power max underscore r, that is 2 raised to power 2, that is 4 distinct elements. Now if I see here, the 4 distinct elements are 1, 5, 10 and 15. Am I correct in this? So I have these 4 distinct elements. This is a very simple, there is no rocket science in this, no calculation like we have done in PCA. Very simple algorithm to find the number of distinct elements which are coming in your input stream. Again, the value which I have selected here, I told you the value of the function is 4x mod c. So here a is equal to 0 and b is equal to 1, for which I told you that, and c was equal to 11. This selection is very crucial. If I take some another value, then definitely these values would be different. So this is the algorithm. This is how we can solve this, as we have discussed. So now coming, what are the different applications? Definitely, I want to know the unique IP addresses which are passing through the, which is sending the IP addresses of packets which are passing through the routers. So it can be used for that. Then number of visitors to your application of the website. If I'm entering n number of times with my same email ID, it would not take me as a distinct element which has visited that particular app or the application. So we need some different, so we keep a track of IP address also and the email addresses also which are unique. Then the motifs in your DNA scheme. Nowadays we usually go more for your DNA sequences, the detection and all those things. So here also it comes the uniqueness of this particular. So these are the basic 3 application. Definitely this is very in which each and every person is using these 2 particular application of your Flageolet-Martin algorithm. Now the basic drawback which I have, as I have discussed, that we have to choose the hash parameters, definitely A, B and C. So it is in the form of AB. So whenever I select this particular different values, I can get different answers also which may not be correct. So I have to check this particular function or the values of A, B, C prior to this particular, so that I can have a tested hash function and it doesn't create a problem for me to identify the distinct elements. So that is only one drawback which I have in Flageolet-Martin algorithm. Otherwise, it's very simple, very efficient and very robust also. Next topic which we will be discussing is, I got those particular streams which are coming it. I identified that particular stream. Now I have to filter that particular data. So the filtering methods which we consider here, only one method that is prevailing is your Bloom's filter. So this particular method is generally associated your pre-processing step, where I'm filtering all those particular noises which is coming into my input streams. So I have set of features. Then I select the best subset for those particular features. Then I apply this particular learning algorithms. These learning algorithms can be your supervised learning algorithms or your unsupervised learning algorithm. Okay, which you can apply on them and can check for the different performance matrices, that is your accuracy, precision, your F1 score, your recalls. These are the performance matrices which we usually see. So we have to select the features which are independent of any machine learning algorithm. They should not depend on any of the algorithms, either the supervised, unsupervised or even your reinforcement learning algorithms. So instead, features are selected on the basis of their scores in various statistical tests for their correlation with the outcome variables. So this correlation is subjective to the terms here. How it is subjective? Definitely the Bloom's filter is a space efficient algorithm. In each and every algorithm, while we are studying our TOEFL or data analytics or DSA, we are into the terms of time and space complexity. If this is space efficient, definitely I have a very billions of data stream which is coming in, as I gave you the example of the live match that is going on. So I require an efficient algorithm which can filter out which I have to take into consideration while processing and which I don't have to take into consideration. So definitely test whether an element is a member of the set or not. If that particular element is not a member of set, then definitely that element doesn't belong to this particular input stream. So this algorithm has a plus point that it identifies if that particular element is not present, then definitely 100% I can assure you that that doesn't exist. That doesn't exist. But if they say it may exist, then there is no surety that it exists or not. It may exist. Like when I have given the example of when you are entering a email address and it tells you that this email address exists. It is not surety. You can identify that surely that address exists or not. If that address doesn't exist, then also it is giving you that it is existing. That practically address doesn't exist. Like I have in a 123@gmail, I gave this particular email address and it told that it exists, but it is not existing. That means it is a false positive. It doesn't exist but my algorithm told that it exists. So those are false positive. In the case of false positive, this algorithm may be or may not be true, but for true negative, this algorithm is 100% giving you the right result. So if I have an input stream of 1000 elements, and if I tell that digit 9 doesn't exist in that particular stream, so definitely my search space reduces from 0 to 9 to 0 to 8, because 9 doesn't exist. So if my search space exists, I won't tell that 9 would exist in that particular stream. So this true negative is the plus point which I am getting from the Bloom's filter. For example, checking the availability of username, as I gave you the example. False positive means it might tell you that the given user is already taken, but actually it is not, as I gave you the example of this email ID. So it doesn't give the 100% surety for the false positive, but it gives 100% surety for the true negatives. So the item might be present in the set, can be either false positive or true positive. True positive means actually this address exists, that is true positive. And it doesn't exist, but it told me that it exists, that is a false positive. So how this particular algorithm works is, these are, I have to check for the key 1, and it checks no, it doesn't exist, then definitely this key doesn't exist. For key 2, if I tell that it may, yes, I check, and I've checked that from my storage, it tells that it may exist, then this can be that yes, key 2 exists, and it actually exists, so it is a true positive. Here I ask for the key 3 and check maybe it doesn't exist in my database, but it tells you that it may exist, then this is a false positive one. So these are 3 cases. If it doesn't exist, definitely it tells you not exist, that is true positive. It exists and it tells you definitely yes, it exists. See this no yes. And in false positive, it may exist, it doesn't exist actually, but it told you that it actually exists. So that is false positive. So working is, if we compare the two strings, instead of storing the entire string, we compute the differences and we compare their particular hash values, and when comparing those particular hash value, we see that that particular bit exists or not. So comparing on the hashes, computing the hash and then comparing takes the complexity of order 1 as compared to the complexity of order n when the strings are compared directly. So I convert these particular strings to the binary bits from the hash value, and when the hash value exists, I convert it into 1 and 0. If it is 1, then it exists, 0 if it doesn't exist. If both the hashes are unequal, then we can definitely say that the string is unequal. That is for the true negative one, which we discussed, true negative. Okay, and otherwise string may be equal. May be equal is your false positive condition. So one drawback of hash function has limited range of hash values. If I take x mod 10, then definitely I have 0 to 9 values which I can have in this particular hash function. So that is a limited range. Hash function h1 ranges from 0 to r1 minus 1. As I told you, 0 to 9. We can uniquely identify only r1 string. I can uniquely identify 9 string, and the 11th may be the same string which exists into this. At least 2 strings will have the same hash value, and when these 2 strings, I have to have a lookup also. First I would insert and then I will do a lookup. To compensate for this, we use multiple hash functions. Suppose we use k hash functions, then I have this h1, h2, hk values, pass 2 strings through these hash values and compute their hashes, and then if all the hashes are identical, both the strings are in high probability that the strings are same. I don't tell you that 100% sure they are same, but it is telling you it has a high probability. Probability is very high that they are same. If one of the hashes does not match, then definitely the strings are different. So we start with setting the m number of bits, the mod value bit. If it is n, then n minus bits are set to 0, and the k number hash function to calculate the hashes for the given input. When we want to add an item to the filter, the bits at k index as set to these particular 0 values. Now the two functions which I insert, we insert the elements, the x element is inserted into the Bloom filter, and for lookup we check whether an element is already present in the Bloom filter. If it is, then it have a high probability of false positive. So testing the member is, if we want to test the membership of an element, we need to pass it through the same hash function. If the bits are already set for these indices, then the element might exist in the set. However, if one index is not there, then definitely that element doesn't exist. So this is the flow chart. Check the existence of an element, compute the hash value. When you are having the k hash function, I have k output hash values. Then I see all the values of k indexes are 1. No, then the bits, the strings are different. And if it is same, then the strings are same. So coming to the one numerical for this, then we will end up this video. I have the elements to be inserted as 10 and 7. And the hash function is h1x mod 5 and h2x, that is 2x plus 6 mod 5, and I have to insert the string 10 and 7. Like here, the size of the Bloom filter which is given is 5. That is, I have this particular bit values 0, 0, 0, 0 and 0. 5 values which are here, which I have told you. Now 10, I have to add for both the hash function. 10 mod 5 gives me 0 and 2 into 10 plus 6, that is 20 plus 6 is 26, mod 5 gives me 25, it comes into 5, then it is 1. So I have to set the 0th bit because it is 5, so 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. I have to set 0th bit to 1, so I converted this 0th bit to 1 and first bit to 1. So my stream now, the array converts to 1, 1, 0, 0, 0. For 7 mod 5, that is 2, and 2 into 7 plus 6, that gives me a value of 20, mod 5 is 0. So I have at 0, I have 1. So I have to see the bit number 2. So I converted this 2 to 1. That is, again, see this bit 2 is converted. Now the Bloom's filter is value of having after insertion 1, 1, 0, 0. This is how the insertion is being done. Now go for the lookup. I have to see, I have to comment on the presence of values 14 and 15. So I again apply the same hash function. 14 mod 5 gives me 4 and 2 into 14 is 28. 28 plus 6 gives me 34. 34 mod 5 gives me 4. See, the fourth bit here has the string which I was having. This string I am returning 1, 1, 1, 0, 0. This is 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Here the answer is 4, 4. The fourth bit is 0. If fourth bit is 0, definitely 14 is not present, and as the index 4, the value is 0, which means that the element is not present, and so it is a true negative number. Definitely this 14 won't exist. For 15, 15 mod 5 gives you 0. 2 into 30, 36 mod 5 gives you 1. And if I see at bit 0 and bit 1, 1, 1 exists. So yes, it may exist. But actually I have inserted only 10 and 7. I have not inserted 15. But it's giving me answer 15. This is false positive. So here it actually doesn't exist in my database, but it is telling it is existing. So the value of 1 is both at index 0 and 1, which depicts that the element is present, and so it is called as the false positive. Okay, so applications are Medium uses Bloom filters for recommending post. The Quora implementation uses it. The Google Chrome web browser uses this. Google beta table, Apache HBase, all these particular things uses Bloom filtering for filtering out that particular streams. So concluding to this, we have discussed about finding the distinct elements, the Naive algorithm along with the Flageolet-Martin algorithm. We have seen how we can filter the streams by Bloom filters and have a lookup into that if that particular element exists or not for your false positive and it doesn't exist for your true negative, and seen the applications for both the Flageolet-Martin and the Bloom's algorithm. So these are some of the references from which I have taken these particular slides. Thank you for this video.